Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Racing Mentor Sponsorship Podcast. This is episode 2, and today we're going to be talking about what it means to think outside the box and why that's so important when it comes to sponsorship. So, as always, I have the wonderful Toby Trice here with me. How are you doing today, Toby?
Hey, Jess, how are you?
Yeah, so good. Yeah, a bit bowled over by the response so far to this podcast. So I'm so excited that we're on episode 2.
It's been amazing, hasn't it? Like, we've had such a good response, and I'm really excited to keep doing this. And yeah, today's episode is going to be super exciting about thinking outside the box, which is kind of your speciality, Jess.
Yeah, I think it is. And I've always been good at ideas. And even when I was just doing little bits of sponsorship stuff in karting for a friend, I was always just coming out with these ideas. And I think that comes from being in a marketing and PR background and having to do that kind of thing, as my day job and as part of my business. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this. And I think it's a skill that every driver should try and learn, because you know how it is. This whole sponsorship thing is all about standing out, and if you can stand out with some amazing ideas that go beyond hospitality, track days, sticker on a car, then businesses are more likely to pay attention. And I know that's kind of been your experience so far in searching for sponsorship as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, my old mentality from a recent video of mine was explaining about my whole kind of like thinking of just sponsorship as a sticker on a car kind of situation. But thinking outside the box really does transform your mindset with sponsorship. And that's really, really, really important to show that to sponsors, because it means that you're a creative person. You can give them something completely unique to each individual sponsor. And that's what separates you from one person to the next. But I love being creative like that. It's nice just to actually kind of scribble down some ideas, as how crazy they might sound at the beginning can end up being really, really cool. And that kind of leads me on to like how you created your book, Jess, because your book was published, correct me now, 2 years ago?
Yeah, at the end of 2018.
Yeah, and obviously book publishing is very, very expensive. But your idea to get the book published is completely unique, and it allowed you to create this whole space, and it's transformed your business. So can you tell me a little bit about how you thought outside the box to get your book published?
Yeah, so it seemed so obvious to me at the time. I just thought, you know what, I'm writing a book about motorsport sponsorship. Let's get the book sponsored, because, without everything else, just like the first print run of the books that I did was thousands of pounds. But I knew that I wanted to hold the stock. I didn't want to do it through like Amazon or Kindle Direct Publishing as it is now. I
Yeah.
didn't want to do it through that, because I wanted more control, and I wanted control over the quality. And I did things that cost more money than maybe I needed to do, like the get paid to race title on the front of the book is in gloss, whereas the rest of the book is matte. And I wanted little details like that. So, and I knew I needed money for that. Racing Mentor wasn't making a huge amount at the time. It was like a really nice, like, side hustle kind of thing that I was doing, that kind of turned into a passion project that took over my life, which is great. So yeah, I knew I needed sponsorship. So I did what I do best, and I went out and got some. And it was really nice to know that, all these skills I have, I can translate them to something that's completely different to, a race car sponsorship and a racing driver sponsorship. And there was one of the partners that I brought on board, I won't say who, but I phoned him after sending an email saying, would you be interested in this? I think we'd met briefly once at a car show. And I said, would you be interested in being part of this? It'll cost this much money. He went, yep. I was like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, easiest sale you'll ever make. I was like, right, great, cool, let's go. And then it just kind of snowballed from there as I brought more and more people on board. But I also set up pre-orders for the book, which again helped to pay for it. So everything that I was kind of doing was outside of motorsport, but also outside of traditional and the normal way that people self-publish books. And it worked out really well. And, since then we've had a second print run, and I'm writing a second edition of the book. So it all kind of worked out. And I think that's why thinking outside the box is so important, because if I'd stayed within the box of you can traditionally publish or you can self-publish, I would have never kind of got to where we are today.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that you did that meant that I could pick up the book, which has allowed me to become a racing driver, along with many, many other people that have purchased your book and made use of it. If you didn't make those steps and you weren't creative in your thinking of how to actually get this book out there, there's a good chance I wouldn't be on this podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to kind of help people to picture what the box is and how people think outside of it. So jump in here with any ideas, Toby. But to me, the box is, inside is your race car, and within that there's hospitality, there's your track days, there's maybe a bit of TV coverage, there's, you know, the odd article in Motorsport News or on the checkered flag. That's the box, and people rarely stray from that when they're talking to sponsors. And some people are really good at selling the benefits of hospitality, for example, whereas others will just say hospitality, sticker on a car, occasional press coverage. So thinking inside the box can work for some people, especially if you find the right business for what you're offering, but it doesn't make you stand out. So I see things that are kind of outside the box as more traditional marketing stuff. So like racing drivers running events that aren't just a typical track day, doing things on social media or with video content that a business might use, you know, as a TV ad, but again using a racing driver, that kind of typical sponsorship activation stuff that you see at the very high end. I
Yeah,
would say that's out of the box.
definitely.
And I was curious, like what your experience of thinking outside the box is and what you've done with your sponsors, just to kind of give people some examples.
Yeah, I took one idea out of the box, I suppose, which was a track day. It's quite a simple thing. People can arrive, jump in a car, and we can go on track and have an awesome time, which is great. But I wanted to kind of transform that idea to benefit one of my sponsors from last season. And one of my sponsors' goals last year was that they wanted to get the staff more on board with their goals and their future ambitions through various different knowledge-based weekly emails that go out to every member of staff. And the whole idea of that email going out is so that more and more people can be on board with the brand and where they're heading. So I took that idea and thought, well, okay, well, how can we get more and more people engaged on that? And I brought the idea of the track day and combined the two. So what I did was, with my sponsor, I created a competition that each month this competition ran, and there would be a prize. And the prize was to come out in the race car, which we did 2 track days last year. And the people that completed the quizzes and exceeded in understanding that knowledge, which was required by the business, was then selected to come down to Brands Hatch, jump in the race car, and have an awesome day out with us. And we, it was a bit of a team bonding exercise. So, it was taking that kind of, like you say, something inside the box, like a race car and a track day, and actually transform that into something really, really tangible for the business. And the feedback we got from the back of it was fantastic. So much so that we're doing it again this year, once obviously pandemic and the lockdown's all over. So it just shows, doesn't it, Jess, that you can take something so simple, think around that idea and think outside the box and actually make it really, really beneficial to a sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about how you kind of present it based on their goals. And I think actually for a lot of people that is thinking outside the box. And I think a lot of drivers would benefit just from looking at a sponsor, doing their normal research, and then sitting down and writing every single wacky idea that comes to them that they'd love to do with that sponsor, and ignoring, I can't do this because of budget. They're not going to be interested in this because of X. Just ignore that stuff and just get used to writing down kind of big ideas.
You think away from money, because sometimes money is the blocking of your creativity.
Mm.
And literally, just like you say, jotting down those wacky ideas can be just something so simple, and that can actually prick a sponsor's ears up to actually go, this guy thinks differently, and it can separate you.
Mm. I had a great story from one of my drivers the other day. He said that he was just washing his hands and he came up with this incredible idea. I guess because we're all washing our hands more at the moment. And he was like, I don't know why no one's thought of this before. And it's because people are so penned in by the box and thinking that motorsport has to work in a certain way, that they don't come up with these ideas. And his idea is incredible, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want anyone else to go with it, because it is like a game changer.
Nice.
So yeah, I think not being, like you say, penned in, or having your creativity hampered by, you know, what you think motorsport should be, or worrying about money. Because I found that if you go to a potential sponsor with one like just big wacky idea, that can act as your hook, and it's the thing that kind of piques their interest, even if they never go for it. If it just makes them go, wow, that sounds really cool, I need to speak to this person, they're creative, they understand us. Even if it's not that idea that they use, and they do go for something that is maybe more what we would call in the box, you've still kind of got that conversation just from that one big idea. So people need to not shy away from that kind of creativity.
Absolutely, and not be scared of it. You know, some of the finest examples in you know, in business, in marketing, and you know, like what we've already explained, can
Mm,
actually transform, you know, you becoming just kind of a racing driver to actually someone that can really, really help and benefit sponsors. And like I say, as soon as you kind of get that hook with a sponsor, and they're like, wow, this guy is different, then straight away you've got yourself in a you know, unique situation.
yeah, absolutely.
Jess, have you got any tips around this? Because I think there'll be a few listeners in going, you know, now thinking, right, okay, what can I, you know, how can I do something different? I mean, from myself, if I'm thinking creatively, I like to literally switch off all my social media, shut down my laptop, just literally just get a notepad and pen and just scribble down random thoughts that are in my head onto paper, and it kind of then delve into and explore those ideas. But you're really, really experienced in it, and you're really good at this kind of stuff. And I know in conversations I've had, I know how people have had with you, that they always say, "Oh, Jess just seems to just get it straight away." Like you can literally just say anything random to Jess, put her in this random situation, and she'll come up with like this creative, instantaneous idea that will just come to her. So have you got any tips on that?
So before this came more naturally to me, I would do exactly what you do: sit down with a notepad and pen and just brainstorm. But I got used to doing this in situations where you're in a group of people and everyone's throwing ideas out, and they always say there's no stupid ideas, but you just feel so shy. And I think when I started doing this, I was maybe 20. So, you know, I was with all these people kind of much older and more experienced than me, doing these branding sessions. And I was so scared to throw out these ideas. But when I start putting stuff down on paper, I was like, I get this, I understand this, and I shouldn't be so shy. So I had to kind of get over that mindset. And the only way I could do that was just like clearing any biases or blocks that I had, and just write down all of the stupidest ideas, and just go, yeah, these are stupid ideas, and acknowledge it. But actually, when you look at them, you think there's actually some merit in this. So when it comes to doing this, you know, with regards to a sponsor, I would do some research and maybe write some like high level notes of who they are, what they sell, their audience, and their goals. And then I would start writing ideas and working out how, me as a racing driver, how I could bring motorsport into that to promote a product, if that's what they're trying to do, or even ignoring motorsport completely, because you actually don't need the race car, or you don't need the motorsport side of things to bring benefit to a business and to have an effect on what they're doing.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
try, yeah, exactly. And I know that you've obviously done this, and I think it's important that drivers stop thinking about what can I do with my race car, and start thinking about like what they can do themselves, because it's probably, you know, that driver that the business will buy into anyway. So if they can kind of think about what they can do in terms of speaking engagements, or just going and hanging out with people, because it's cool to hang out with racing drivers, and I'm sad that I'm not doing it because of silly coronavirus. So I think it's important to, yeah, like I say, like clear those blocks and clear everything that you know about sponsorship, and go from there. But definitely writing stuff down and doing it regularly, even if it's not something you'll ever pitch, or to a brand you'll ever pitch. If you want to practice doing this, go and choose a massive brand, or someone that you love and you know tons about, and work out what wacky things you could do for them. And you'd probably be surprised how quickly you think, I should pitch this. Because when you realize that you have a good idea, you have so much more confidence to go into your email or to a phone call or to a meeting, because it's different and you're not just pitching the same things that you're not entirely sure if they'll work.
Yeah. And a kind of just on that note, I have a really good rapport with my sponsors that I could literally just jump on a Zoom chat or a coffee or or just a phone call and just be like, I've got this idea. I don't know how it's going to come down. So what do you think of it? And then just talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's really good fun. Like you have a good conversation. That's a really good rapport building thing, because you sometimes have a joke or laugh about it, but other times actually like, you know what, this is really, really cool. We'll run with this. And kind of touching back on your point about feeling stupid in your 20s when you were kind of like first learning this part of life, I suppose. I think it's something that perhaps we're all guilty of, is that we can sometimes feel that we're easily judged. I think we're in this world where we feel judged all the time, and you don't want to put a foot wrong and all that kind of stuff. But with regards to thinking outside the box, you should almost forget that kind of mindset. And it's something that I was kind of like at the early stages of when I did my 6 weeks to success course, was I was kind of thinking, it sounds mad in my head. People are just going to look at that and think, oh, this guy's not serious. But actually, those ideas that I had, that I did write down, I've now used, and it's got me sponsorship. So I'm not sure where I'm going with this, Jess, but I think, just don't worry about what people are going to think about you.
Mm.
Put those ideas down on paper, delve into them a bit more, and be confident that what you're thinking about actually is legitimately a really good idea.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of self-confidence that comes into this. Trusting yourself and trusting your ideas are really important. And unfortunately that comes with practice. And I think the reason now that I will just like give anyone any weird idea that comes into my head is because I know that there'll be some kind of merit in it, even if it won't necessarily work. It's because I trust myself. And that is a practice skill. And actually, once you learn to trust yourself, sponsorship does actually become a lot easier beyond just kind of this ideas phase.
So Jess, you're really, really good at this. And for the listeners, I'm going to put Jess on the spot now to kind of test how
Lovely.
good she actually is. So
Pressure.
Jess, I'm sure you're feeling the pressure right now. So I've got 3 fun brainstorm idea challenges for Jess. And these are just, some are a bit simple, one's a little bit more complicated, but they're just scenarios so that we can see how Jess thinks outside the box to create a random idea that we could bring to a sponsor. And they are all sponsorship related. So
Okay.
the first challenge I've got for you, Jess, are you ready?
Yeah.
um, is I'm a tea brand company, a brand new tea company, British made. So we've got a British label. It's a really fresh new tea. I'm a lover of tea myself. So what do you think you could do to offer something unique to my company?
Tea pie. Okay. Concept.
Done.
So, um, so depending on the specifics of the brand and who it's targeting, but I can see a tea party in like a paddock, but I'm talking full tea party, bunting, tablecloths, proper china, all that kind of thing, and inviting press along. And it's the whole point of it is to loop in the motorsport angle and have it as maybe as part of a track day or a VIP thing at a race weekend for press, because if you can get it's quite hard to get press along to events unless you've got something that makes them go, that's different, I need to go along. So having like a VIP box at a race weekend, or a ride out in a race car, or even a drive of a race car is going to get press along to your press event. So, but for the tea company, that means the press are going to write about this new tea brand. They're going to be trying the products, and they can obviously go home with goodie bags. So that's the first thing that kind of pops up to me. But then there's also so much kind of stuff that you can do around hospitality. So if you're a driver that typically gets a lot of guests, you could have this in your either your hospitality suite or in your garage, have like a little tea party style thing. But then the photography that could come from that would be incredible. Like imagine once all the racing's over, sun's going down, you set up one table with some tea and this tablecloth and this china in the middle of the racetrack, and take some incredible pictures, maybe even with the race car in the background with the branding.
I'm pitching that right now.
Oh my
Jess,
God.
I'm literally smiling. As soon as you said tea party, I was like, that would be so cool at a racetrack.
Yeah, I want to
Because
do
it's like,
that.
because literally you straight away, guys, Jess's crazy idea has just formed in my head, and I'm sure you've all just painted this picture of this tea party at a racetrack, and it is something so different that actually people, even fans and spectators, be like, "What is going on over there? What's this?"
Exactly.
And then straight away, you're giving amazing brand awareness, which is the benefit here, right? Of this tea brand to not just press people that can then write about it, to influencers, other members of the race team, etc. But actually,
Mm.
fans and spectators will be looking in, going, "Oh my god, that looks so cool! Like,
Yeah.
what's this company? What do they do?" And
Yeah,
straight
and
away,
if
you're
there's like samples to give away as well, especially if you're, a well-viewed kind of race series and you've got lots of spectators kind of milling around. Yeah, if you can give out like samples and things like that, they're going to remember the brand as well.
definitely. So that's one idea, Jess.
Yep.
Guys
We
out there listening, that's well,
so
there
are
you go.
we going to see a jump in like tea sponsorships across all motorsport now?
Well, when I was thinking of these scenarios for you, Jess, I mean, I've mentioned in one of my vlogs recently that I should really work for a tea brand because I literally
Yeah.
drink tea all the time. I love tea. Well, there you go, there you go, Jess.
Yep.
um, so I've got another scenario for you now, Jess,
Okay.
and this one is a slightly different angle. So I'm a shoe company
Okay.
that traditionally made work office shoes, but I'm now looking to venture into the sports industry with a brand new trainer, and I'm not sure how to launch it. So, what do you think?
So I'm thinking video content here to show that this is a brand that was typically work shoe, but is now not work shoe. So maybe racing driver in an office environment wearing a suit, but wearing these new trainers, because that like trainers in a suit is a great look anyway. Um, Walking out of the office straight into like the paddock or into a race car. Maybe shedding the suit along the way and replacing it for a race suit or like some more, the kind of thing that you would wear around the paddock if you're not in your race suit, to show that there's like you could wear this at work. We are a work shoe brand, but here we are with like a fashion sports trainer in this sport environment. Maybe even going from like this suited office environment to the gym to the track, just to show that progression of like how versatile the shoe is, but kind of looping in what the brand has done previously. But then there's also this motorsport angle of, we're at the track, there's a race car, but actually that's almost secondary. It's more of a kind of a modeling thing.
Nice.
That's like the big launch thing. And then there's obvious kind of events and track days. So like this is something that people don't use enough of, is track days to encourage new distributors to stock a product. So let's say the shoe brand is trying to get distribution in like a load of big shoe stores. Invite the buyers from these shoe stores along to, look at the products, but also race cars. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a perfect environment for that, right? They're
Yeah.
going to have a great day out. They're going to be more inclined to think this brand's actually, we're well on board with this brand, and together that grows the business into the industry better.
Mm.
Like this idea, Jess. Um, I can picture it straight. You're like a mastermind, Jess. At this, literally, like you kind of like write this storyboard in my head, and I'm like, I can see that all happening. I'm kind of visualizing, and I'm smiling right now, guys. You obviously can't see me, but I'm I'm kind of smiling with this idea. That's cool.
I feel like that guy from Mad Men.
Yeah, just like that. So my third and final scenario to you is a bit generic, to be fair. It is to do with a tech company. So I'm a tech company that
Mm-hmm.
that provides services to businesses with unique technology that allows them to operate their business in a more refined way. So almost like kind of like what's the word I'm after? Like troubleshooting kind of company, but they build tech for it.
Okay.
Um, I've got a brand new service this time, and it's completely unique to the industry. It's brand new. I haven't actually yet thought of what this unique service is, but nobody else has got it. So it is the very first service that is new to the industry. Nobody else can do this. So have you
Mm-hmm.
got any ideas around that? Is this one's a little bit trickier, I think.
Yeah, I actually think brands that have like a non-physical product or a service is much harder to market, just generally. The kind of so the words that I'm picking up on, and I would do this if I was doing research or if I was speaking to the brand owner, is refined and also unique. So I'm wondering how we can connect unique with like pole position And
Yeah.
I think branding on the car here is actually really important because tech companies often just need to be seen. It's about brand awareness. So
Yes.
I'm thinking photo shoot with branding on the car, but then some really good marketing strap lines to do with unique pole position, something like that, which would take a lot more brainstorming and knowledge of the company. But I think the biggest thing that a driver can do for any business to business companies, so businesses that are selling to other businesses, is networking. So it would depend on how the tech company is currently marketing or selling their product. Like, are they doing demos before, getting people on board? Are they giving free trials, that kind of thing? Or are they just kind of selling it and then going into a business and doing the work? Kind of depends there. But I think a driver could do something really flashy and cool, and it doesn't have to be around a track day. It could actually be just a keynote speech at a networking event at the HQ of this business. So again, it gets people in because they're going to hear from a racing driver, which is really cool. And then maybe within that, there's a competition to win a track day. But I think this is exactly the kind of scenario where things like the TV coverage, no one's going to care about. Hospitality might be good for networking as well. But in terms of like really out of the box ideas, I think, yeah, some big photo shoot that, or actually, if there is a way that the so I'm really just kind of delving into my brain here. But if there's
Go
a
for it,
way
Jess.
that this, whatever problem that this, IT or tech service solves, if there's a way to link that to motorsport. So if it's about efficiency, then there could be a whole ad about like how efficient a race car is. So like a really with a, like lots of slow-mo stuff looking at, the, I don't know, the tires. I don't know enough about race cars to go into detail here. What the engineers are doing with the car, how it's set up, how a driver's getting in the zone, all this lovely slow-mo footage, but with like a really kind of low, simple voiceover that talks about the efficiency of a race car and the efficiency of a racing driver, and then links that to this product, and then just presents it really simply at the end with a simple call to action that's, get in touch for your demo or to find out more.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's really nice because it's kind of like metaphorically speaking on behalf of what that service is,
Mm.
and using motorsport as the link. That's really, really smart, Jess. Guys, can you just see how you're just literally talking out loud, chucking it on paper, however you want to do it. You can literally go from this business that didn't really give Jess much of a brief. It was pretty difficult, this one, Jess, but you've just talked your way through what you can do to make that really unique for that company. And I think that last point there is absolutely spot on. If I was that business owner, I'd be like, that's so cool. Like, and the business owner may not have thought of that. I didn't,
Mm.
let's say I was the business owner there. I didn't think of that.
I
And
th-
you've just created this new idea for me.
I think that was actually quite a good example of how you start by going like digging in the box a bit and going, right, I'll pull that out, what can I do? And then as you dig more, you come further and further away from the box. And then
Yeah.
suddenly you have a big idea that's, slightly different to what everyone else might pitch, because that there are some drivers, even, at high levels, who when presented with that would go, yeah, sticker on a car, hundreds of thousands of people will see it because it's on TV. And the business owner's like, but are they business owners who are doing this thing? Whereas if a racing driver can create something that the business can deliver to their audience, it's going to be way more impactful.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that kind of leads into like the stuff that I've kind of done with my new sponsors is we're creating content that they then can use, because one of the challenges with one of my sponsors is that they were like, well, I operate this business, but I don't really know how to engage my audience, and I'm not really sure what I can do with a camera in an office and some people. And I was like, okay, well, let's get behind, let's make a story and make this fresh content so that you can share with your audience and engage with them. And
Mm,
that's exactly what they've done. I mean, they've just seen an increase of their social media of over 300%. So
it's incredible.
so it just shows that those kind of ideas actually work for a sponsor. And then all the other things that you just mentioned are just added bonuses, right?
Yeah. And even if, I mean, I've put out some big ideas there, which might cost money. So if you present one of these ideas to a sponsor, they might look into it and say, actually, it's going to cost too much. But because you've already built a rapport with them in the time that you've been discussing this, they'll probably still want to do something. And even if, you know, if you pitch big tea party, you know, photos on track, all the press, track day, all that kind of stuff. If you pitch that and it's, you know, it's too much money, you could still do small tea party for your invited guests, or you could still do like a small tea party event without the track day.
Yeah.
So there's ways of taking these big ideas and making them more manageable, but that's something that you would have the opportunity to work on with that sponsor.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like on the monetary side, if they can't do that straight away with their budget, sometimes that if there's some mad idea that perhaps is a little bit more expensive and a little bit out of reach at this moment in time, is put into plans for maybe the following year. So it kind of like you put in ahead of you getting yourself ahead of time.
Mm.
Because I know for my own self, if there was something that was really, really exceptional that I'd really want to do that I can't perhaps afford right now, I look to a plan of how I can eventually get to that point if it's right for my goals. And I'm sure many business owners will be thinking like that as well. If you've given this an amazing idea, but perhaps it's a little bit out of their budget, I'm sure they'll be looking to put the plans in place to eventually make that happen because they see the value in what that will bring later on.
Yeah, and especially if you can say, right, okay, we're not going to do it this year. This is what I'm going to do for you instead to get you to that point where next year you can commit to this and you'll be able to afford it because the stuff we'll have done together will have benefited your business so much that you'll have enough cash to do this wacky idea later on. So not only do you present a really good case to your sponsor there and they go, actually, yeah, that's a great idea, but you're also getting a 2-year deal out of it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we talk about our driver of the week? Because I think this driver thinks outside the box. And I kind of want to show people how you can use different elements of what in business you would call the marketing mix to not only promote yourself, but promote your sponsors as well.
So I'm really excited about this driver, Jess, because I actually hadn't heard of her before until I read your behind the wheel article with her.
Yeah. So, for everyone who doesn't know, I do this like little project where I interview people about their cars and their careers, not just motorsport, but anyone. And one of the recent ones was Cristiana Oprea, and she is a Romanian rally driver who is actually making waves in that scene. But one of the things that really stood out to me is the way in which she uses her, I guess it's her blog, emotocar.ro. She uses that to not only promote herself and talk about her journey, but she uses it for big editorial projects with her sponsors. And she told me during this interview that it's actually her biggest income source for her rallying, because she uses it to, you know, do these big projects with sponsors where she promotes them, she talks about their products and what they're doing. But actually on top of that, on top of all this, you know, great stuff that she's doing with regards to sponsorship, she's also really, really heavily promoting women in rallying and female athletes in Romania. So I think she's just a super inspirational person, and I was really, really excited to interview her. But she just seemed like a great fit for our driver of the week this week as well.
Yeah, I agree, Jess, because I remember reading a little bit about one of her challenges. So in Romania, she was explaining that motorsport's not really that big there, unlike it is here in Great Britain. It's amazing here. We've got a huge fan base, but out there, not particularly. And with her challenges of being a female motorsport is actually quite tricky in her culture. So the fact that she's used this I guess this initial idea of a blog has turned into something so amazing that it's given her now an income stream that benefits her rallying. So you know she's had to really think hard here and think deep about what what she's going to do. And you know she's built this up over time quite clearly, but what she's now doing for sponsors and allowing her to then go racing is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone that wants to follow her, she's really active on Instagram. She's Criss Oprea, which is Oprea, if you want to follow her. Just really interesting following her rally journey, and I find that I'm getting more and more into rallying just from meeting these incredible personalities. So she's a really, really great ambassador for the sport as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the car she drives as well is pretty cool. I like the little Dacia she's got. And some of the pictures that she's got from rallying are insane. Like I think track racing is my heart, but nothing beats like some mid-air photos of a rally car going going through a stage through dirt and dust in the air. It looks proper cool. So
Yeah.
definitely check her out. She's got a really cool page.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, and anyone that wants to kind of put themselves forward for this Driver of the Week feature, we're really keen to hear what you're doing. So feel free to go and post in the Racing Mentor sponsorship community on Facebook, or you can email me directly, jess@racingmentor.com. Just let us know what you're up to, whether that's, you know, something as simple as, you know, posting some great stuff on Instagram, or doing stuff for your sponsors while motorsport's a bit quiet, or maybe even you managed to get to a track day, which I realize people are doing now. Let us know about it. We want to hear about all of your kind of wins and your successes, and we want to share this inspiration with everyone else listening to the podcast. So yeah, please hit us up if you have any cool stories. And I just want to thank everyone for listening to this second episode. I feel like we've really kind of like found our groove now, Toby.
Yeah, I agree. I've really enjoyed this. I'm feeling a bit more relaxed about doing these now as well. Podcasting is obviously new to myself. You're really experienced with it, Jess. But yeah, just thank you for everyone to tuning in and listening. I hope you take something from it.
So if wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, and if you have time, it would be so cool if you could leave us a review. It just helps more people find this. And if you think this episode has been helpful, please let us know. This podcast is for you, so we want to know what is useful to you. But you know, if there's someone else out there that you think could use this, that could think you use a bit of thinking outside the box, then please forward it to them as well. Thank you everyone for listening, and you'll hear from us next week on Tuesday as always.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And I hope you look forward to tuning in with us next week.